October webinar for schools that are renewing the Redesigning School Counseling process, and we'll be using the portfolio that you develop as part of the renewal process for the Indiana Gold Star Award and also the ASCA RAMP Award. And today's agenda, we'll be doing three things. First thing we'll do is we'll just walk through how to conduct meeting 2. The focus of meeting 2 is to reestablish your goals for your school counseling program. So we'll look at the meeting agenda, we'll walk through the handouts for the meeting, and then there's several tools that will help you get ready for the meeting that we'll walk through as well. Second thing we'll do is look at the tasks that are due, that we suggest you do in October, and then the rubric for those tasks. Basically, there's just one task in October, which is to conduct the an advisory council meeting to review and then revise, if necessary, your program goals. So, and then the last thing we'll do is we'll look at how to enter your program goals online, and also how to establish priority goals. That's something new that we've done since we talked with you 3 or 4 years ago. So we want to make sure that you understand the concept behind the priority goals and then how to enter priority goals online. So let's begin by looking at conducting meeting 2. And again, the focus of this meeting is goals. So I'm going to go to let me bring that down. So here is a typical website. We have permission from Bloomington High School North, who I think is on this call, to demonstrate with their site publicly. So we've pulled up their site, and again, as a renewal school, the tab that you always want to go to is the tab that says Annual Analysis. So we're going to click on that tab. And just a reminder, I'm assuming that all of you have made sure that you are a Cycle 1 school. That gives you the full renewal process. But if not, when you go to this page, if for some reason it shouldn't be, but if it's still saying Cycle 2 or Cycle 3, make sure to change that. Also, at the top of the page, you'll notice that we've added now an archive for the Renewal webinar series. So if you, for whatever reason, are missing a webinar, you can click on the archive and that'll pop up. And basically, the archive looks like this. You can click on the date of the webinar, and that'll begin the broadcast. Also, we had several requests from people who wanted to be able to download different PowerPoints that we might use in the webcasts. And so we've given you a tool where you can download the PowerPoint without having me talking behind it. So you've got that as well. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down then to the part of the annual analysis page that talks about your activities in October. And you'll notice here that there's a webcast. This webcast is different than the webcast that we're doing right now. It's a webcast that talks about the concept of goals in school counseling programs. And it also talks about our goals pyramid that connects guidance and counseling goals to student choice goals, and then connects the student choice goals to achievement goals. So if that's something that you're a little fuzzy with, you might want to look at that webcast, and it will help you understand why we're creating goals at 3 different levels. So then I'm going to go now to the next step, which is the Advisory Council Meeting 2. And you'll see that there's an information or instructions icon in the first column. So I'll click on that, and then that brings me up to the part of the manual that is about that includes the resources for your second meeting with the Advisory Council. So the first thing that I'd like to go through, just walk through, is the handouts for your meeting. The first page is just a cover page. It's just a template that you can put your school's name on, and you know, the date of the meeting that you're having at your school. What I'd like to open up to begin with is the agenda for meeting 2. This agenda is pretty simple, but let's just walk through it. So the first thing we're doing is a quick welcome. We're assuming that your welcome is going to be just a 5-minute quick thing. Then the next thing we're doing is looking at your program resources. This is the same thing that we did 3 or 4 years ago before you set goals. One of the things we want to help your advisory council look at is just exactly how much time do you have, how much funding do you have, how many materials do you have. We really want them to consider your resources before they start developing their suggestions for all the goals that you have. For a school counseling program where there's not very many resources, where counselors are used for other purposes rather than guidance and counseling, or there's no funding, we want the advisory council to be very careful to not overload a program or a school counselor in that kind of situation with a ton of goals. On the other hand, if there's a program where counselors are able to spend 80–90% of their time face-to-face with kids and parents, it's reasonable to add more expected goals to a program where the counselors have time and funding and resources. So the first thing we want to do is review the resources, and that we'll look at that in a minute, but basically you're looking at a PowerPoint presentation where you are presenting to your advisory council, here's the resources we have available. Then in the next part, we're going to very simply look at the goals that you developed 3 or 4 years ago, and then we'll just help the advisory council talk about, are these goals still pertinent to your program, or maybe it's goals that you've successfully addressed and that's not an issue anymore, so we can get rid of those goals. Or maybe new things have popped up, so we need to add goals. But we're going to start with the goals that you already have, and then we'll tweak and revise those goals to meet your current needs. Okay, and then that's it, and then adjourn. So one PowerPoint to look at program resources, that's pretty quick, and then we'll look at a document that lists your current goals and help your advisory council talk about those goals and make recommendations for you. Okay, so that is that's the agenda. The next handout is just an overview of the process to help folks see that they've already revisioned. The next place that they're going to go is activities, but before activities comes this goal step, so it just kind of shows where goals fits in the process. Then on the PowerPoint, let's just look at that real quickly. This is, it's going to take this a minute to open. There we go. This is the same PowerPoint that you went through 3 or 4 years ago, where you're just introducing to your advisory council, these are the resources that we have available. So you're reminding them that there's different program areas, and a little bit about the little bit of background process about the pyramid, and then we're looking at your resources. So basically, we're reminding people that one of the tasks for today is to review the current resources before you start to look at your goals. So we're reminding people that we're looking at office and meeting space resources, your technology resources, materials and supplies. These are things that you're just talking about with your advisory council. You're reminding your council of what your actual school counselor ratio is. And remember to figure that out. It's not just the number of students and then number of counselors you have. We're calculating for each counselor the percentage of time that they actually spend on school counseling tasks. So from your time task logs, if a counselor is only spending half of their time as in school counseling tasks, then we're not going to count them as a full-time counselor. They may be called a full-time counselor, but we're only going to count them as a half-time counselor if the other half of their time they're doing things that have nothing to do with guidance and counseling. And we'll show you some the formula for doing that in a second. It's going to come up in the tools section. The other thing with time is you can spell out for your advisory council over the last 3 or 4 years. This was the target that we set up in terms of how we were going to spend our time 3 years ago when we did this, and then here's how we're actually spending our time. So you'd be looking at your time task analyses from the beginning of this year or last year and pulling up exactly how did you use your time. Annual funding, excluding personnel, just this, how much funding resource do you have per student to support your program? And then we're looking at, are there others who deliver student assistance or counseling services and guidance? So if you have in the school, if you have a teacher advisor program, you'd list that. In the community, if there's a community mental health association, that community mental health provider that provides mental health counseling, you'd list that. So we really want to look at who provides guidance in the school and who provides counseling in the school other than counselors, and then who provides counseling and guidance in the community other than school counselors. So, so we're just kind of giving people just an idea of who all the different providers are. Professional development resources, you would maybe list the conferences that you're able to attend to keep up to date and current in your profession. That's another resource that you have. And then from the perceptions, in the surveys that you gave last spring to students, there's a report that comes out of that that's a perception of school counselors. And so you can pull up that perceptions report and then just say, you know, here's one of the resources that we have. We have a very good, students have very good perceptions of their counselors. Or that this is a resource that we're lacking. We have great counselors, but for some reason that's not perceived that way among students. So again, that's a resource. Having a good reputation, that's a resource. So okay, so then we're completing the resources action plan. Just brainstorming with your advisory council. You know, are there ways again that we should be expanding resources for counselors, either time or funding or whatever? So again, every time we talk about goals, before we talk about goals, we want to try to expand resources, because the more time and funding and resources, materials that we have, the more goals we can tackle. This also puts goals in the perspective for your advisory council, so they can't, you know, expect the sun and the moon and the stars from a school counseling program when there's only time to deliver the stars, but not the sun and moon. So, at any rate, so that's one step in the agenda, is just to look at resources again. Okay, so let's go back then. So after we're expanding resources, then the next step is to look at our current goals. So we'll bring up a document that will have your current goals listed, this document you can do online, or there's a goals crosswalk form in the online system that you can look at too, that has this already all filled in. But basically we're looking at the your student achievement goals, and then it's just kind of an open discussion. Are these still student achievement goals that we want to address? One of the things that we're really suggesting to schools now that I don't think we really hit as hard when we were working with schools 3 or 4 years ago is that these student achievement goals really should align with the school improvement plan. We have a lot of new schools now that are even opting to skip this step, and instead they just enter the achievement goals from the school improvement plan as their program goals. I think that kind of aligns the school counseling program with what the direction that the school is going in, and kind of makes the program an integral part of the school. So think about whether or not you want to suggest to your advisory council, you could tell them there's been another group that's been working to create the school improvement plan, and here's the goals that they've incorporated. And rather than create something new, maybe we should just look at designing our goals so that they just mesh perfectly with the goals that are in the school improvement plan. So, so think about that. And then the next section is just a discussion of your student choice goals. And these are choices that kids make, of course, that impact high achievement and then eventually college access and college success. So you can look at the goals that you created 3 or 4 years ago and see if you're, what your targets were and if you've met that target, and then adjust the goals accordingly. And those may change too, just because of things that are kind of popular, if you will, today. We know that in a lot of our work and on the state meetings that we go to in national meetings, there's a lot of emphasis on student completion of FAFSA. And that's not something that was probably emphasized 3 or 4 years ago when you first did this. So you may find that things catch your attention now just because other folks are talking about them. And when you check your data, you find that, no, our students aren't completing the FAFSA in the way that we'd like them to. And you might want to, kind of join that national movement to have students complete FAFSA. Okay, so, and then finally, the guidance indicator goals. Just a reminder that if you're a school working towards the Gold Star, Indiana Gold Star initiative, Indiana expects you to put in goals for each of the Indiana guidance standards for students. And so that's why you find so many indicators. These are very specific indicators, and I think when you review them, you'll remember that while there's a lot of them, they're just kind of no-brainer things that any sound school counseling program would, want kids to learn. So also, there's many activities that you can do that will hit, 6, 7, 8, 10 of these indicators all in one activity. So, don't be too worried about that there are so many. Also remember that it's not only you that helps kids reach those goals. It may be that teachers in a teacher advisor program are helping kids learn these things. It may be that your family and consumer science program and courses or your health classes, that they're helping kids to learn this knowledge as well. So one other thing is because I know we're really kind of emphasizing this differently than when you did this 3 or 4 years ago. But another way to look at this is that the student choice goals, these are choices that kids make. These are student practices or student behaviors. So do they complete the FAFSA? Do they come to school? Do they, do they complete their homework? Do they enroll in algebra? Do they make good choices when they're confronted aggressively by somebody else? So it's the practices and the behaviors and the choices that kids make. The guidance indicator goals is about knowledge. So do kids have the right knowledge that as a result of having that knowledge, they would make the right choice? So do they know about the FAFSA? Do they know where to find the FAFSA? Without that knowledge, kids won't make good choices. In the personal social area, do they know how to be assertive rather than aggressive? Because if they don't know how to do that, they're likely to react aggressively in a situation instead of assertively. So just kind of to show you the relationship between those two. And then, of course, our thinking is that the relationship between the goals and achievement is that if kids make these good choices, if they, are well-behaved at school, if they get along well with their teachers and their peers, if they take algebra, if they take AP courses, if they're making good choices, then we should see student achievement go up. So, okay. So that's the handouts and kind of a walkthrough of the agenda. So just quick summary. The first thing we're going to do is look at expanding resources, and then we're going to look at all of your current goals and reestablish the goals if we need to. It's perfectly okay to keep a goal the way it is. Okay, so I'm going to move on, and then when we get to the next end of the next section, we'll take any questions that you might have. So the other thing that we want to happen, before your advisory council members can make a decision about whether or not they feel that you should revise or change or omit or add a program goal, we want your advisory council to look at new data. The goals that you currently have were based on student data that your advisory council looked at from 3 or 4 years ago. And now we have a new set of data. So before your advisory council does any analysis of your goals, we want them to be able to look at new student data. So I want to jump down and look at this review and revise data memo. To save time in your meeting, we're suggesting that you send out your new student data to your advisory council members before they get to the meeting. So here's school letterhead, and this is just a sample memo. So, thank you for participating again. Our next meeting is scheduled at. We will be discussing our program goals for next year. In preparation for this meeting, please review the enclosed data tables, and you will have sent to them your student achievement data, the student choice data, guidance data, counseling data, and perception of the school counseling program data. When we get online, I'll show you how to print those reports. Really, everything's online right now. As a reminder, we've pulled out the student achievement data for you, so you no longer have to type that in. And then the rest of the data comes from the Learn More survey if you have students in grades 8 through 12, which is really the RSC survey, but we've renamed it here in Indiana. If you have students in grades K through 7, we're still calling the K7 survey the Redesigning School Counseling survey. So, but all that data is going to come from the survey or from the data that we've pulled off of other websites and put into the student achievement section. So, and then we're just asking your advisory council, as they look over the data, please mark areas that, if improved, would be likely to result in increased student achievement. And then after they've reviewed the data, to identify the 1 to 5 areas in each of the areas listed above that they believe that should become your big-time program goals. And that will, I think, that information will help them in the discussion, especially will help them know, they may have like 50 goals that they think you should do, especially all those indicators. But there's 3 of those indicators that they really feel strongly about. That'll help them focus their comments to you if they've had to prioritize a little bit before they get to your meeting. So, and then just we will be discussing the data and possible program goals at our next meeting. Okay, so we're sending that out ahead of time, and then I'll show you right now where to find the program data in that section. So back over here at the left on program data, if I click on that, the data reports are in the bottom section. So the student survey reports, your teacher surveys. This is a report, if you want to include this, from the federal government about the percentage of students in each high school, about the number of students in each high school that completed the FAFSA. And then this environmental data part, that includes data from Indiana Youth Institute about students in your whole county, not just your school, but your county. It includes things like students in needs of services, the CHINS data, students in need of services, So you can get, the student child abuse data from that. You can get teen pregnancy. You can get teen incarceration rates. All that environmental stuff that impacts achievement as well. So that's all there. And then in this report, in this survey, there's some administration stuff up here right now. You don't need that because you surveyed last spring. So that's where to get the student data that you would print those reports then, and that would be what you'd send out to your advisory council. Okay, so then, oops, to the wrong place here. Let me go to Analysis tab, go back down. Sure, let me go back here. There we go. Okay, so in October then, whoops. There we go. So back in the tools section, so we've got this memo out to the advisory council. The other thing we've put in here is in preparation for creating the PowerPoint presentation on your resources, you can open up the resource self-study again, and in that, let me just open up real quickly, in this section, it explains to you here how to create an accurate student counselor ratio based on the adjusted full-time equivalencies for counselors who maybe are called a full-time school counselor, but in practice they're not a full-time school counselor. So that gives you that formula for the calculation there. Okay. And then the resource action plan, that again is a Word document, but it helps your advisory council brainstorm expanding resources. So it's the same as the one we did 3 or 4 years ago, so that should be familiar to you. And then the other resources in this section are the same that we always have. Here's instructions for how to prep for meeting 2. Here's facilitator notes that will help you through the agenda, give you tips on different sections of the agendas, and then tasks following meeting 2. So I think that kind of goes over the agenda for the meetings, the handouts, and then the tools that you have that will help you prepare for this second meeting. So let's pause right now and see if people have questions, and we'll take those. So I see a couple of questions up.
I don't see any questions.
You don't? Okay. I can't get mine to stay open for some reason. Okay. Any questions? If so, raise your hand and Bruce will unmute you. I'm sorry?
I have one here. Is there a way to download the data reports and email them rather than printing them? I could not figure out how to save the report. It just gave me a print option.
Yes, that's correct. Let me think for a minute. I think let me send that as a follow-up email to everyone. Let me answer that now. The answer is no. Here's why. There's some of it we could. There's some reports that we make public, so that what I was thinking is that could you email to people a link so that they could just open up the data, especially from the Learn More survey. So you could send people a link and they could open up the student choice data and the guidance data. That's public information that's available on the Learn More website. But what they won't be able to get with a link is is the counseling needs data and the perceptions of the school counselor data, because we don't make that public. We only schools can make that public, and only if you choose to, of course, but in RSC, if you're doing Gold Star, we're thinking you would choose to do that. Let me show you real quickly. If you wanted to give people a link, let's see, I'm going to go to the Learn More website. And this would only be for grades 8 through 12 as well. So if I go to the Learn More website, which is www.learnmoreindiana.org, and then, let's see, I'm going to go to the student survey link. So I have to scroll down a little bit, and then I can click on student survey, see student survey results. And then for the public results, I'm going to go to public reports. And then what you could do is copy this URL, or just go ahead and write it down right now if you want to, so you don't have to go through all those steps. But it's, I'll read it to you if you're writing. It's https:// as in candy, gi.asainstitute.org/cg as in goat, I-bin, B as in boy, IN, /school counseling /learn more results. So this takes them to a page where they can look at the public survey results. So they would basically just put in that they want to, you know, that it's already there, that they're looking for school level, and then in step 2B, they'd scroll down, find your school name, click on it, and then down at the bottom they can look at the various reports. But you'll see here the only thing that we give them are plans and choices, and then guidance needs. So the only other idea I have is that if on the counseling needs and the perceptions of the school counselor reports, I mean, you could scan those and, you know, turn them into a PDF and then email attach them to an email if you want to send them out that way. But we don't have any way of doing that because we don't release that data. Okay, good question. Good question. Bruce, other questions?
Diane also says that she sent it in 3 weeks ago and did not receive a response.
Okay, if you've sent that to us 3 weeks ago and didn't get a response, I apologize. We try to keep up to date with our email, and sometimes we miss them, so that's not our intent, and I'm sorry that you didn't get that response in a timely way. Okay, other questions, Bruce?
No more.
Okay. Then let's go back to okay, so in terms of the October tasks, there's basically 2 tasks. One is to do the advisory council minutes, and this rubric is always the same for all of your meetings. One is that we want the minutes to contain the names of the people that are present and the groups that they represent, so we know, you know, whose perspective is represented in the minutes. And then you're discussing a summary of the activities that you did during the meeting. And then the other thing we strongly suggest is that your minutes contain references to specific people who contributed ideas. I know over last weekend I was attending a meeting that that I'm on a board of directors for, and in the minutes they said that, you know, so-and-so added this to the discussion, and, you know, this person had this opinion. And it really made us all feel like we were listened to and that it was important for us to be there. And I suspect that your advisory council members, too, if they see references to themselves in in your minutes, they'll know, that this was not a meeting that they came to just listen to you, but it was a meeting that they attended because you wanted to listen to them. So we think that's kind of important. Then the other online thing is looking at entering goals. So let's just walk through these rubric items, and then I'll go online and show you how to enter all this. On the student choice priority goals, there is one of the rubric items for those is that 1 to 3 priority student choice goals have been identified. That's just a matter of there's a part on the online system where all the goals are going to pop up, and you just check off the ones that you really want to hit hard in the next school year. The other thing that happens just looking ahead is at the end of, not this year, but the end of next year, when you do your quick review and revise at the end of each summer, it'll say, okay, here's your priority goals that you were working on last year, and here's the data behind them. How did you do? Did you meet your goals? Did you not meet your goals? What do you need to tweak? So, we're really hoping that reviewing your strategic plan is not something that you do just once every 3 years, but you do these kind of quick reviews at the end of every school year. And in the quick review years, we're just going to have you look at those priority goals, not everything, but just the 3 priority goals. Your program goals, the rubric items is that you at least have 1 achievement goal. The student choice goals, there's guidance goals, and there's counseling goals. And then if you're going for Gold Star, if you're in Indiana and you're working towards the Gold Star award, we're wanting, Indiana Department of Ed wants to make sure that you have included all of the Indiana Universal Student Standards for Guidance. So, so you'll check that. And then if we give you the option to either enter data for your goals or not to enter data for your goals, it's purely your choice. We would love it if you put data in. I think to be a data-driven program, you really need to put baseline data in and follow-up data for your program goals. But I also know that that's really time-consuming. So we don't require that you put in data. If you want to have a goal without putting any data to it, you have that option. But in this day and age of data-driven decision-making, I would really suggest that you put in data. If, for nothing else, the 3 priority goals that you identify, you can put in student data for those so that you can kind of monitor, am I making progress in the areas that I think are really important? I think that would be good. So, so if you've indicated that you're going to put data in, the review team will just check to make sure that you actually did put it in. And then finally, there's a student choice goals crosswalk. I wanted to put this on here. We're not doing this time, but next month when we look at activities, we're going to make sure that there's at least 1 activity entered that aligns with each of your goals. So again, kind of keep that in mind when you're putting your goals in, that you don't want to put goals in if you don't have the time to do something to help kids reach those goals. So, so just wanted to point that out, that that's a rubric item that's coming, not this month, but next month, that we'll check to make sure that there's activities in place for each of those goals. Okay, so at this point, let's go to look at how we enter those goals. And go back to the online system. Oops, wrong place. Okay, and go back to the annual analysis tab. And that's kind of a tip too. Anytime you get lost in the system, if you're hitting back buttons and you're not going where you think you should, just always go back to the annual analysis tab, and that will get you back to what you're used to seeing. Okay, and okay, there we go. So I'm going to go back to I'm sorry, for some reason that came up again. I'm going to go, this is cycle 1, not cycle 3. I think maybe I clicked on that before by mistake when I was demonstrating. Okay, so I'm back into October, and now I'm looking at doing the data entry for the program goals. So I'm going to come over here across to the Enter column and click on that icon. And that's going to take me to a page where it walks you through how to enter your goals. So there's a couple of webcasts up here. Again, these are webcasts that specifically talk about goals and then how to enter them into the online system. But basically, the first thing you'd want to do is after you've met with your advisory council, enter your achievement goals. So I'm going to click on this Enter icon. And I think your current goals appear here. So let's say I'm at Bloomington High School North, and one of my goals was that I wanted to work on having all the kids earn a core 40 of the academic honors. So if I click on that goal, if that goal is no longer a goal, I can just click delete this goal, and that goal will go away. If I decide, oh, I don't want to have data anymore for that goal, you know, I had great hopes of doing that, but I didn't have as much time, and I know next time I'm not going to have time to put that data in, so I don't want data. Just click that No button. You can see that makes this whole section not hot. If I like the goal, but I want to change the wording of it, you know, I can click that there. So you can revise any goal that you currently had, or if you like the goal just the way it is, just keep it. If you want to create a new goal, there's two different ways to do that. One is to look at a list of suggested achievement goals that we suggest and a lot of other schools have used. And these are just, and again, these are just to kind of save you some thinking time. You know, what is ASA seeing that other schools are doing, and what do they suggest? Some of the goals have this blue star in front of them as well. That indicates that this is a goal that's suggested by the Indiana Department of Education. So you could just look through this set of goals and click the ones you want to include. Make sure you put the student group. Is this a goal for all students, or is it just for a certain population of students that you really want to see reach this goal? And then is it for all grades, or is just a goal for you know, your 10th graders or whoever? And then when you're finished creating a goal that way, you would just click Add Selected Program Goals, and that'll go in there. Then the other thing you can do is when you're creating a goal is you can start from scratch. So if you're starting from scratch, you would just click Create Achievement Goals, and you'd go in and just, you know, type in the benchmark, select student group, and then decide, do you want to collect data or not? And then you can just save it, or save and add a new goal, or save and go back to the original list, and again, there's always delete this goal. So if you start to create something you don't like, just delete it. Okay, so that is the achievement goal section. Now, so that's level 1 goals is achievement goal. The level 2 goals you'll enter is the student choice goals. And on student choice goals, I'm not going to go to this section. It works exactly the same way as the achievement goals, except this time it's all about student choices. What I do want to show you is the student choice priorities. So after you've entered all your student choice goals, then you want to make sure you're working with the coming year. So right now we have goals in for this school year, 12-13. Later the system will turn over, and then next summer you'd enter priority goals for 13-14. But right now we're doing, you know, this year. So to edit that, I just click there. Here's all of the goals that I put in, and all you have to do is click 1, 2, or 3 that you're really going to hit hard this year, and then save. When you do that, it'll customize your system's website so that next summer when you go to do your quick, not the the big every 3-year review and revise, but your quick review and revise, it'll pull up just that goal along with that goal's data and ask you to think about, did you reach the goal or not reach the goal, etc. Okay, so that's the priority goals, and then on the guidance and counseling goals, they work exactly the same way. One thing I did want to show you here is that if you got the Gold Star Award before, that means you would have created or already included all of the Indiana Universal Student Standards for Guidance. But I would check that. I noticed earlier when I was looking at Bloomington High School North that oops, let me go back. I was noticing that they had one that was, there we go, they had one that was missing. So the way, it might have just been overlooked before, they hit all of the others. But if you, to check that, if you select from a list of suggested guidance goals, this is all of the, when you click that, you're getting the Universal Student Standards. So this is everything that Indiana expects you to include for the Gold Star. And you'll see that this first one, for some reason, does not say that it's been entered. So just check on that. Just check to make sure you've got each of the universal standards entered. So, and that might have been put in and somehow removed later. I don't know. So, but just do please check that. Okay, and again, to check that, just go to the list of suggested guidance goals and pull that up. Okay, so we've got that. And then finally, down at the bottom are the reports, and you can list your goals by goal type, so it's going to give you your guidance goals and your student choice goals, or you can also list goals by grade level. Sometimes if you're reporting out to your principal or teachers or whatever, it's more interesting to see the goals organized and sorted by grade level. So either way, but once you've got them all in, you can just go there and click those, and those reports will pop out. Okay, so that's how to get the goals in. And Bruce, any questions coming up?
None. So.
Okay. Let's give people a pause a couple minutes and see if we have any questions. Okay. Okay, so we kind of walk through the meeting and how it works. We've showed you how to get your current data. And then once you've had the discussions with your advisory council, how to enter your revised goals into the online system. Again, if you have questions, feel free to shoot us an email. I will work hard to monitor my emails so that none slip through. And feel free, if an email does slip through, feel free to send another email or give our office a call and just let us know that we haven't responded in the timely way that we, the timely standard actually that we hold our organization to. So, okay, appreciate so much everybody's participation, and please make sure that you've registered for the next webinar that will happen the first Tuesday in November, and we'll go from there. So thanks so much for all the work that you're doing on behalf of your students. Thank you.